The Young Man's Manifesto, Chapter 2. You don't choose the cards. As you may have noticed, life is pointedly unfair. It can seem like none of the choices you make in this life matter. To some degree, this perspective can be comforting. You can lay your life at the feet of fate and neglect your responsibilities. The problem with this line of thinking is that it's not true. Our choices do matter. Even if we believe this, we can neglect the importance of small choices in favor of waiting for big, life-defining ones. It's easy to assume that only big life-altering decisions or moments will decide our future, and while there are some choices in life like this, it's not an accurate representation of our lived reality. There are very few decisions that dictate the entire course of our lives. As boring as this may sound, most of life is made up of a lot of little decisions that compound over time. There are many aspects of life that are outside of our control. I think we discover this the moment we wake up to the fact of our own existence. Some people are born with incredible genetics and the body of a Greek statue, while others are born with a cleft lip and the bone structure of a turtle, a total roll of the dice. As most teenagers will say to their parents at some point, "I didn't choose to be born." But more than that, you didn't choose where or when to be born either. You didn't get to decide the time period, geography, or political system. You're just here. Excluding location, time period, and genetics, there are even more random events throughout life that you don't control. Some people get stung by bees and die. Other people get stung by bees and are cured of Lyme disease. True story, look it up. The reality casino we inhabit seems to be dealing out wild hands with little to no regard for people's actions. As kids, we take all kinds of crazy risks. Usually everything works out fine. We somehow stay alive and avoid death and dismemberment. But sometimes kids get paralyzed, blinded, or permanently maimed. Worse still, the actions of others can affect us regardless of our choices, good or bad. Sometimes you get shoved into a wood chipper. Fortunately for you, if you're reading or listening to this, your circumstances are all right, and you haven't been pushed into a wood chipper. You can read, write, and you live in an English-speaking country, which presumably is a relatively prosperous nation. You're not currently in a war zone or dying in the cold without food or shelter. Just so many positives there. And for all these advantages, you did no extra work, nor endured any great struggle. Again, you're just here. Even with all these good things and exceptional advantages, things may still be rough. There's no such thing as comparative suffering. Your problems still feel like, and are, problems. You may not be fighting for your survival in a war zone, but you still have to endure hard things. Even when there's a roof over your head and food in your belly, you may still feel hopelessly stuck in a chaos you cannot control. The truth is, you can't control most things. The list of things we have genuine control over is much shorter than we think. Internalizing this truth will have one of two effects on you. 1, panic and anxiety, or 2, a huge relief. If you're in Category 1 right now, allow me to draw you over to the second option. It's definitely the better response to have. In Category 1, Team Panic and Anxiety, your mind is playing a trick on you. Our brains like certainty. We like to know when and why things will happen. Certainty can be a good thing. It's why people love routine, but this creates problems as well. The dark side of this trait is that we often try to remain in bad and predictable circumstances where we have relative certainty of outcomes, rather than allowing ourselves to enter the realm of uncertainty and have the outcome be a mystery. It's like being mean or cruel to a friend, and rather than apologize, you choose to double down on making your friend mad. You would rather the certainty of their anger than to apologize and wait for their unknowable response. This sounds like a petty way to behave, and it is, but people do it all the time. Oftentimes, your subconscious will try to keep you unhappy because it feels like there's more control in the predictability of being unhappy than in the mystery of doing things differently. The philosophical principle here is called the hedonic treadmill. But guess what? You can make a choice to change. You can wake up and realize that you're only responsible for you, no one else. Once you know you can't control other people's feelings, thoughts, or actions, you'll feel a great degree of freedom. Most people don't live like this. They live as slaves to other people's emotional whims or personal insecurities. But you don't have to be most people. You can just be responsible for you, and that feels pretty good. Let's look at the things you can control. It's a pretty short list. Most of the things on there are just personal actions you can take. You can control how you treat your body, what you wear, when you sleep, what you eat, brushing your teeth, etc., how you treat other people, how you speak, how you spend resources, money, time, intellect, your chosen moral standard, and where you go in physical space. Now, there may be a few things that I've missed, but generally, those are the big ones. Seeing how short this list is can be helpful, but also a little scary. Realizing that you can't control the next election, or fix your friend's bad decisions, or stop the neighbors from blasting EDM at 3 a.m. can be freeing, but it also makes you take a harder look at your own choices. Sometimes it feels good to have so many problems that we tell ourselves we can't do anything about anything. But you can do something about some things. Accepting the limits of our control can actually put change within reach. It's hard to admit that some of the problems in your life are your fault. With those problems, it's up to you to go about fixing them. Now that we know what we can control, let's talk about consequences. Although I am in control of my actions, I am not in control of the consequences. Now I know consequences is a dirty word to most of us, but not all consequences are bad. Consequences just means the result or effect of an action or condition. If I work hard at my job, the consequence might be a promotion. If I get naked and start running down the highway, the consequence will be an arrest for public indecency. Good or bad, actions have consequences, and we don't control those consequences. Even if we're only focusing on our tiny little sphere of control, bad things will still happen. Life will be unfair. It seems like your actions have no effect, but the effects of our choices are on a much longer time horizon. It's like game theory optimization in poker. There's a statistically optimal way to play each hand, but even if you follow the math and strategize perfectly, you'll still lose hands. However, after a while, you start to see small gains. You're up some chips, more positive than negative. In addition to this, you can more effectively play the cards when you get dealt a lucky hand. Life is a lot like poker. Although what we control is small, the choices we make over time do make a difference, regardless of the cards dealt to us. Given a long enough time horizon, the randomness of life starts to take shape around your choices more and more. If you've treated people poorly for years, you may find yourself alone without support when you're old. If you've been selfish and sought nothing but financial gain and personal pleasure, you may find yourself surrounded by parasitic people and unhealthy relationships. On the other hand, if you've been consistently generous and trustworthy with others, you may see people acting generously towards you or giving you opportunities. If you've been hardworking and diligent, you may see your effort rewarded financially. The problem with life, especially as a young man, is that there's no instant feedback loop. It's not like a video game where you fight the boss with a specific method and get a reward. Sometimes in life, we don't get to see the consequences of our choices until months, years, or even decades later. So as you go through hard things, as you experience bad hands and unfair treatment, just know that every good choice puts you in a better position to play the next hand.